special edition of Soul of the Siddur, where we're going to look at a chapter of Tehilim that actually was chosen to be the opening chapter of Tehilim of the transition between Yom HaZikaron to Yom Haatzmaut. This is actually also what we've done in our shul each year over year. We're going to do it tonight also, 7:30 p.m. will be Tehilim together, followed immediately after the Tehilim together by a few transitional remarks from yours truly, Divrei Torah, and then we'll recite together the chapter of Tehilim, the relevant chapter of Tehilim.
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar with the way you talk. I need your permission.
My computer is gone crazy. Okay, never mind. Next. Let's go. Let me try and get X out of what just started talking to me in the middle here. Okay.
What chapter do you want us to look up?
Chapter 107. 107. Let's let everyone get that for a moment, and then we'll try to get underway to learn this a little bit. In fact, I have courtesy of Koren Publishing. I have the with the English translation. It make the most sense. Just look at that together inside in order to understand a little bit of what's going on. That'll hopefully be of help to us later today. In fact, let me put that on the screen for those who are on the screen together. Here we are. Okay, so. A lot of technical problems today with my Zoom. What chapter should be recited from Tehilim for the beginning of Yom Haatzmaut? So this is usually said for the uninitiated on the night of Yom Haatzmaut, as we're going into Leil Yom Haatzmaut, that is to say, as the transition from Yom HaZikaron, which is today, to Yom Haatzmaut itself. Apropos, this chapter begins with the words Hodul Hashem ki tov, ki l'olam chasdo. It's a chapter of thanksgiving. And as we will soon see, the different permutations that are described herein of different kinds of types of salvation are each of them that which is meant to signal us to the sense of relief from having been in a state of danger and of risk. I'm hearing myself somehow echo back. So someone here has me on either double. A lot of problems today. Here we go. Okay, I muted everybody, but if you want to speak, just unmute yourself. It's possible to do that. But let's look together at this parak. Yeah. So here we go. The description, which you should have in the Hebrew and in the English, is first of all about what's called Kibbutz Galiot, is the title, the ingathering of exiles. Hodul Hashem ki tov ki l'olam chasdo, which refers to already a sense of thanksgiving. We're familiar with this line from where? This pasuk, and we know it's from Tehilim. But when else do we say it?
Hallel.
Bidiyuk, Hallel. So it's in Hallel in chapter 118 and thereabouts in Tehilim. It's in the chapters of Thanksgiving within the constellation of chapters that we recite whenever we're saying Hallel, right? Hodul Hashem ki tov ki olam chasdo. In fact, it appears both as the bookends, the beginning and the end of the chapters, the main chapter of Hallel that we say, chapter 118. Begins with the words Hodul Hashem ki tov ki olam chasdo, ends with the words Hodul Hashem ki tov ki olam chasdo.
And when on Shabbos we
And on
recite.
Shabbos, exactly. And when on Shabbos, chapter 136, called Hallel Haggadah. Hallel Haggadah, which we recite, we call it that. That's what Chazal call it in the Gemara and Pesachim. Is 26 lines, each of which end with Ki Leolam Chazdo. In the case of that recitation, we not only recite it on Shabbat and Yom Tov in the morning, but on another particular time in our calendar at night, and that is on the night of the Seder. That's what we're saying in those 26 lines. Now, once we have that backdrop and we have some kind of idea, okay, that's when we're saying Hodu. Why didn't we choose one of those? Why did the Rabbanut Harashi choose chapter 107 specifically? Well, I kind of already gave it away. Yomru Geulei Hashem Asher Ge'alam Miyad Tsar Ume'aratzot Kibtzam Mimizrach Mimarav Mitzafon Umiyam. Let those who were redeemed by Hashem, who were redeemed from an aggressor or an adversary, they're going to be gathered in from all the different lands and all the cardinal points. The Hodu that's in Hallel, the Hallel called Hallel HaMitzri, sometimes called Hallel HaMitzri, the Hallel called Hallel Haggadah, that's the one with the 26 lines, each refrain ending Kilulam Chazdo. Those are not, they don't mention Kibbutz Galiot. This one mentions Kibbutz Galiot. Makes sense, yeah? Further, the idea that the Geula here, the redemption, is not the Geula of, we hope it will be, but it's not yet the Geula of the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu. It's a Geula, a redemption, from the hand of an adversary, an enemy, one who causes torment, suffering, pain, distress. And the ingathering of the people from all points of the globe is what's being celebrated. Now, you could say that these verses right here, I think they would be in my Tanakh, verses 1, 2, 1 and 2, are the titles, the title psukim. We see this very often in Tanakh. We've seen this very often in different chapters that we've learned together, whether it's in Chumash, whether it's in Navi, whether it's in other kinds of shiurim. I'll give you the example. Breishi bara Elokim et hashamayim v'haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Is that Hashem created everything, or is that a title on what's going to be described further along? Yeah, that's more of a Chumash discussion. But my point is, and here the structure is going to matter a lot, because we're going to get to a refrain that is going to come up again and again within this chapter of Tehilim. Now, when you look at this chapter of Tehilim in your Tehillim, you see it. Unfortunately, and here I want to criticize editors all over the place. They decided to put this as one block of text. So when you're looking at one block of text, if you get it and you understand what all the words mean, Ashrecha, beautiful. You're so lucky. But most people are not able to do that, and instead they are stuck. They see a block of text, and it has what's called, in I think the publishing world called this, there's no margin. So it's very it's off-putting, because you don't know what to do with it. But what I want to show you is that if the layout was just a little bit different than what you see on the page, you'd be able to see the structure a little more readily available in front of your eyes, and it may help to relate to it more. So I'm putting that on the screen. So watch this one. Here are the two title psukim. Sorry, it's actually three title psukim. Sorry, I made a mistake just now. Three title psukim, right? So these three title psukim, you could put like this, right? These are the three title verses that we just saw a moment ago. Everyone with me so far? I don't want to lose anybody. Yes? Okay. So once you see this, now you can look at what are basically refrains. The first refrain, the first stanza, rather, excuse me, that leads to a refrain is about wandering in the desert. People who wander in the desert and who don't know which way to go. They had no place to live. So this is Tau Bamidbar B'Yeshimon Derech Ir Moshav Lo Matzau. They're in the middle of a wilderness. Nobody knows the way forward. Tau Bamidbar. And the moving around, the wandering in the wilderness, creates a sense of hunger, of thirst, of being near the point of wanting to collapse. Vayitzaku al Hashem batzar lahem mitzukotim yatzileim. Verse 6. They called out to Hashem. By calling out to Hashem, what did Hashem do? Hashem had the response. He guided the people on an upright path to get to civilization, to go somewhere. And what did the people then do? The response of the people is that the people gave thanks to Hashem for his kindness and his wonders for human beings, the people who were saved. And the explanation about why that is so. And that is, Kizbia nefesh shokeka, v'nefesh re'eva milei tov. Right? For the satiation of a thirsty soul and a hungry soul was filled with goodness. You see the structure? So there's the crisis, there's the effect of the crisis, there's the calling out in tefillah, there's what Hashem did miraculously to save the people, and then there's the way in which the people thanked Hashem for what happened, for having been saved. The next stanza, Yoshvei Choshev Etzal Mavet. Here is people who sit in darkness and the shadow of death, who are prisoners of poverty or of suffering rather, and in chains. They're imprisoned. They're asirim. It explains why. They rebelled against the word of Hashem and the counsel of the Supreme One. Did they reject? Vayachna be'amal libam kashlu ve'ein ozer. So their effort to rid themselves of this issue of being imprisoned, about sitting in darkness and sitting in the shadow of death, didn't work. No one to help them. So what did they do? We see right here. It's exactly the same as the previous one. They called out to Hashem. It's the same words even. Vayitzaku, verse 6 and verse 13 are identical. Is everyone with me? Not getting much feedback, but yes? You follow? Okay, good. I'm getting some nods. So what happened? Hashem took them out of that situation. And then what was the people's reaction? Same thing. Same thing as a moment ago. Verse 15 and 16.
Rabbi,
the people
are we
respond.
supposed to think that the first group of people in your structure didn't sin, and these people did in the second group?
Well, it does seem to be more of a causal link, doesn't it?
This is very reminiscent of Shoftim, when the people are always sinning, messing up, finally call out to God, God saves them, they're thankful,
Excellent.
And then they mess up in a short
Excellent.
period of
Very
time.
reminiscent of Sefer Shoftim. Very reminiscent of Shoftim. And there's something here, yeah, that there's something about this cycle of we didn't listen, bad things happened. Now we got back to be in God's good graces, if you will. And that's not true in the first one, right? The first one it's a natural occurrence. The natural occurrence, it seems to be within nature. They're hungry. They're wandering in the desert. But shortly thereafter, is the idea that an individual feels that there is a causal link between what's happening to them and something they did that caused the crisis.
Sometimes yes and sometimes no. I think
Yeah.
as someone who reads this all the time, whatever situation you're in, you need to turn to Hashem.
Good.
So,
but if you're looking at this carefully, you do see that there's something here about a crisis.
right, always in a crisis. Some of them you've made yourself, and some of them just happen to you. But in any case, examine yourself and then turn to Hashem.
Right. Oh, 100%, 100%. And there is a turning back to Hashem in the case of of both of these scenarios. Right. I don't have the food, and I'm panicked about that. Versus, I don't have. I'm imprisoned by other people. See, in the one case, they're wandering in the desert; they don't have food. In the other case, and that's sort of a natural happening. I don't mean natural without God being involved. I mean natural. It's the elements of nature that they're battling against. But contrast that specifically with a battle against other people who have imprisoned these individuals, right? And the imprisonment is itself something that the people are realizing, hey, how did we get here? We did wrong. We shouldn't have behaved in this manner. This is why we're in this pickle. This is how the crisis happened. We can draw a causal link between how we got here and realizing that if we're going to try to get ourselves out without recourse to davening to Hashem and relying on Hashem, we're never going to get out of this problem.
It's almost like it goes from the outside, and then the middle one is really on the inside because you're just turning into yourself. You've already know that it's your inequities, and then you start moving out again.
Good.
So
but yet there's going to be more, right? There's going to be more. You see, there's other parts to come. But you're right. Here the shift is, I see there's something that I did that brought this on.
It moves, yes, from the outside towards the inside, and then
right.
It's going to move back out again as it
right.
proceeds.
So and there's something to that, to be able to think a little. Why did this happen? Now, I'm not suggesting every individual should be figuring this out for themselves, and just deciding I know why God does what he does, and so I'll just blame this one or that one or blame myself. But we do have a tradition, a very strong tradition, that when something bad happens, we're not allowed to just chalk it up to, it's the way of the world. We have to think a little bit, okay, what could we be doing better? What's in need of repair? What's in need of redress?
Rabbi, if you're saying this Erev Yom Haatzmaut, okay,
yeah.
That's a historical nation kind of event. It's hard to believe that for 2,000 years of the
right.
kind of persecution that we've gone through with so many very, very righteous people, that it's all because it's all our fault. What about their fault for being anti-Semites? Or they're setting up their religion to hate us? I mean, I don't want to blame us for all of this stuff.
So I would say you're right. You can make this argument about Egypt as well. Can you make this argument about Mitzrayim?
Yes.
Oto davar. So same thing over here.
I think the important thing is that you have to ask yourself, at least. Sometimes you'll find an answer and sometimes you won't find an answer.
Fine.
The important thing is to at least ask. You ask, and you're never going to find an answer to the Holocaust, but still people ask the questions. How could this have happened? And what do I do now? So that's, I think, where this is. What do you do now? You ask Hashem for help, and then you thank him for whatever answer he gives you, and you move on.
So taking off on Karen's point, I listened to a lecture by Natan Sharansky on Yom HaShoah that I think is really relevant here. He talked about feeling the least lonely when he was in solitary confinement in jail, because it was there that the kind of thinking we're talking about and his connection to Hashem was the strongest. So that's kind of a tangible example of what Karen was talking about, I think.
Okay. Okay. Very well could be. That's part of it. From the crisis, from the crucible of the crisis, comes an appreciation. I have a relationship with Hashem. Now look at the third stanza. Third stanza, starting with verse 17. Again, foolish ones from the path of their iniquity, and on account of their sins, yit'anu. Yit'anu is a reference to being afflicted, being made sick. All food become an abomination to their souls. They got to the gates of death. So what did they do? You already know. They davened. Vayizaku el Hashem batzar lahem mitzukatevi yashiyim. And what happened? Hashem sent his word and he healed them. V'maleit mishchitotam. They escaped from the destruction. What did they do in response? They thanked Hashem. And they offered offerings of thanksgiving. And they told the story. On this one, from sickness being nursed back to health, here I think also, and this is also even more internal, because obviously this doesn't involve outside people putting anyone in prison, but it's the individual becoming ill, but recognizing somehow in some way the hand of Hashem is involved here. So and calling out to Hashem, tefillah is part of this, being healed by Hashem and being saved. And the reaction is again another prayer. What's the prayer? Yodul Hashem chazdo, v'niflootav livnei adam. Same thing.
Is there something special about telling the story in song, like Miriam did at the sea, or like it says in verse 22 over here?
Yeah, for sure. And that's what's going on. You're recounting the distress and the salvation. Now there's a the fourth stanza here is of the next one, the next distress. And it's interesting that you just mentioned, that's why I paused right now, Shelley, because they should tell the story, sing the song, and the next one has to do with the ocean. Interesting. But here you have Yordei Hayam Ba'oniot, means people who are in the water. They went into ships. And they, in the middle of being on the ocean, they caught a storm. In that place, these are the people who went down to ships to do their work in deep waters. There they saw the works of Hashem, his wonders in the deep. Vayomer, and they said, Vayamed ruach sara vatromem galav. This is about the stormy seas and the waves that are crashing, that are rising. Yalu shamayim yardu tehomot nafsham berat titmogag. A graphic description of their panic, of the feeling that it's going up and down. It's going up to shamayim, coming down to the depths, meaning the waves keep crashing higher and higher, and their souls are withdrawing. Right? So yachogu v'yanu kashikor, like drunken. The boat is moving about like a drunken sailor. All of their wisdom is swallowed up. So what did they do? You already know what they did. They called out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Vayitzaku el Hashem, batzar lahem, u'mimitzukotehem yosiem. Now, yakem sara lidmama v'yachashu galehem. Here the storm stopped, became silent, and the waves were muted. They were happy that things became silent, right? And they were guided They got guidance to where they were going. Note, as Karen pointed out before, a chiastic structure. The first one was about the desert. The last one is about the ocean, the two wildernesses. And in between, right, and in the middle, you have more internal, whether it's imprisonment or the sense of illness and its feeling of imprisonment. So here, what do they do in response?
The sea is universal because this sounds exactly like the story of Jonah. Now, Jonah didn't care if he went under, but the rest of the people on the ship, they
100%.
even take on God. So
100%.
Now it's becoming somewhat universal.
Yeah. And that's instructive, right? That's instructive, that it should be something that has shifted away from being just a story about an individual or a group of people in the sense that it's, well, this is like the Jewish people, and you have a universal dimension here, no question. And that universal dimension is very much at play. Very much at play.
I don't think it's about water. I don't think that, I think that.
What do you think it's about?
I don't think it's coincidence that we often use the phrase, boy, I'm in over my head. We use all of these phrases with drowning and being in over our head and water and being tossed as a metaphor for being in uncertain times. I mean, all of us right now feel like we're being tossed.
Not that we want to mention it.
Another wave is
yes,
going to
in fact,
come.
we are.
We are being tossed. Is another wave going to come? When is the wave going to come? It's language that we use all the time to describe uncertainty and lack of control. Right.
So 100%, 100% that is how it's playing out for us, and that's how it plays out in general. And feeling being in over one's head in these circumstances of uncertainty. And here are four, you could say, archetypal such circumstances where there is great uncertainty as to what is going to happen next.
I can't help but think of various times in Tanakh and Jewish history. You've got the universal business of Jonah. You've got the incredible miracle on Pesach in Chizkiyahu's time of Sennacherib being stopped right before Yerushalayim, and there was no song sung.
Right. I can't go down that line right now because that's a Hallel discussion, which I'm hoping to have a little bit later based on some interesting questions that come up every single year. It's now 12 years running with the same people, but now it's happening apparently on WhatsApp, and I'll address that later on in the day today. So I'm going to table that, but I want to go back and show you something else about this along the lines of what everyone is saying, because I think we're hitting the button here of what this represents. Everyone can still see it. So let's review briefly. We had here the title, 3 psukim. It's a Hodul Hashem ki tov kilam chazdo. The redeemed ones of Hashem who have been saved from distress and who have been brought in and gathered from all cardinal points on the globe. And then we have 4 different stanzas. Those who are lost in the desert, those who are imprisoned, those who are ill, and those who have come from the ocean. 4 different people. After we get to the end of it, and each time it's the same syntax of the crying out to Hashem, being saved, how they were saved, and then the thanksgiving prayer. And why there's a thanksgiving prayer. Explicitly unpacking what it is. And that's true on each of these. Now you just look at the highlights. They're all here in front of us, yeah? That section of Tehilim, the chapter continues. Here's verses 33 through 43. I'm skipping them. We'll come back to them in a minute. And look with me here at the next page, what I put here, which is the Gemara in Masachet Brachot. And this is a halacha. We learned from this. It's actually a siman in the Shulchan Aruch. This point here, which is Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Arba tzrichim lehodot. Make it a little bit bigger so you can see it a little better. 4 who need to say thank you. 4 who need to offer thanksgiving for having been saved from precarious situations. Who are those? Yordei Hayam, Holchem Midbarot, Misha Echol v'Nitrapei, All these four people are the people who need to give thanks to Hashem for having been saved from calamity. And who are they? We recognize them all, don't we? Yeah? They're the four from chapter 107. Asks the Gemara. Yordei hayam minal, and how do we know? Dichtiv. Where's it from? Our chapter of Tehilim. Yordei hayam be'oniot v'gomer. Hema ra'u ma'aseh Hashem ve'omer. Then it says, Vayamed ruach sara yalu shamayim yardu tomod ve'omer yachogu v'yanu kashikor ve'omer vayitzaku l'Hashem b'tzar lahem u'mitzukot yem yotziem ve'omer yakim sara litmama ve'omer v'yispru ki yishatku. All of these are quotes directly out of chapter 107. Ve'omer yodu l'Hashem chazdo v'niflotav livnei adam hochem idbarot minalan. How do we know? The Chtiv, as it says, Talmid bar b'Shimon derech ir moshav. And what do we have? Here are the people who go down to the midbar. Where are the psukim all from? You get the idea, yeah? They're all from which chapter? Our chapter. You go through each one of them, and you recite through each one, again, each time. So the Gemara asks, okay, my mevarach, what's the bracha that you recite? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Baruch Gomel Chasadim Tovim. You ever hear Birkat HaGomel? Arba tzrichim lodot, four have to give thanks. So that's where the root of the bracha of benching Gomel is. Do you know who benches Gomel on the night of Yom Haatzmaut? Every Jew who sees the hand of Hashem in Hakamat Medinat Yisrael. Now look at the last psukim, and we'll end with this. Verses 33 and onward in this chapter are the concluding verses. Everything that is beautiful, rivers and things that are filled with water, can be turned to ashes. Or let me not use my own language. The rivers can become a wilderness, and the places filled with water can somehow just become places which beget or cause there to be a feeling of great thirst, a drought. A place that was once fruitful can become a place that is Melecha Melashon Melach, salted, means barren. Merat Yoshua, because of the wickedness of the people who dwell therein. But conversely, the wilderness can also be turned back into a lake, into water. And that which is a place that is known to be so lacking, Eretz Tziyah is a place that is what's the word? It's a place of also desolation, can somehow be filled with water again. And who will come back there? Hungry people. And what will they do there? They will establish there a city and a settlement. They will plant fields, and they will plant vineyards. They'll sow fields, plant vineyards, and what will happen? The ground will give them the food. They'll have blessing there. You understand what's going on? And what will happen? There will be an ending of agony and of pain. Says that the Tehilim, right? All of these things can happen. And then the cycle can repeat. The noble people can have kadachat poured on their head, right? Contempt can be poured on them. And he can cause them to go in a place where there's no path forward. But at the same time, we say in Hallel, here the Sefer Tehillim says, the families will be like sheep, like herds of sheep. And those who are upright will see it and will have joy. Those who are iniquitous will be those who will see that their mouth is stopped up. And it ends with almost like a rhetorical question. It's calling us, this chapter of Tehilim. Whoever's a chacham will guard these things, and they will meditate on the kindnesses of Hashem. On the night of Yom Haatzmaut, the Rabbanut Rashi chose this chapter of Tehilim not accidentally, because this is where we give thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, benching Gomel together. And we're meant to do this together as much as we can. If not, we'll do it in our own homes. Tonight we'll do it in our own homes. It opens with the title about Kibbutz Galuyot, the ingathering of the exiles. It ends with the flourishing of the land itself from a time period of negativity, of the exile, can come right back here to all of the goodness that will happen. See? The redemptive component, if you will, that comes about. And then finally, there should be not only joy, I should have put this also, not only the joy, the thinking about it, whoever's wise should think about it, but also the righteous should recognize it for what it is. And what's the response supposed to be? The recitation of chapter 107.
You know what's interesting, Rabbi, is that in Eretz Yisrael, I believe they say the Haftorah of Od Hayom, which is the Haftorah for the last day of Pesach, which fits into this because it brings in Yemot HaMashiach.
That's true. That's another theme, though. That's a theme of Mashiach Tzidkenu's arrival. I'm not entirely sure if this is about Mashiach Tzidkenu's arrival. These are the Geulei Hashem. They're redeemed, but they're redeemed from a Yad Sar. I don't know. And Chazal learned from this thing very practical, which is when you and me as individuals, God forbid, are in a tough spot and we get out of it, any of those four, that's how the halacha paskins it. The Shulchan Aruch actually writes, Arba tzrichim hodot. And who are those four? These four. Person was in the desert, crossed an ocean, illness, or imprisonment. Any of those four. V'chol ha'chaim yodu chasela, actually. The Shulchan Aruch quotes that acronym, Chaim, 4 things for life. Chole, Yam, Yisurin, Midbar. 4 things. So what some people do in Israel, some of the people do read chapters of Tehilim, or rather of Navi, that have to do with Yemot HaMashiach. This chapter is not necessarily about Yemot HaMashiach. This is about leaving Israel and coming back to Israel. It doesn't speak about the Binyan Beit HaMikdash. It doesn't speak about Mashiach Tzidkenu as a personality arriving. It speaks about those who are redeemed by Hashem. Redeemed in what sense? From the hand of their enemy, of distress. You follow?
Yeah.
Now, and at the end, what's amazing is that this chapter is specifically the manifestation of salvation to this distress comes how? The planting of fields, the sowing of vineyards, the setting up of Silicon Wadi, right? The setting up of startups, the setting up of an administration, of a hospital, the setting up of a society, of a culture, hopefully a high culture, not God forbid, a low and decadent culture. All of these elements, though, are what? They're all the elements of what we see going on today in development in Medinat Yisrael. I think certainly today, Pasuk Lamed Tet, that there should be a calm and there should be a cessation of evil and cessation of agony. I think we're still, many families in Klal Yisrael, of course, are still waiting for that. Certainly. I'm going to minimize it. Certainly not Yom HaZikaron. But something for us to think about. We open this chapter, God willing, tonight, to recite it in a full-throated manner. We're giving thanks to our Kodesh Baruch Hu. And where's our Hallel tonight? Hodu Hashem ki tov, ki olam chasdo. It's not that, I don't have time now to explain. It's not the same thing as Hallel Haggadah, which is about a universal Hashem holding up the first 26 generations of the world and different things that happen to Jewish people, which does have messianic implications. It's not the Hodu from Hallel, the formal Hallel that we say, Hodu Hashem ki tov, ki olam chasdo, which also is bracketed that way, which is also giving thanks to Hashem, various things in history, but is not this. This particular chapter, you could say, was written by David Malka Mashiach for our moment and for our time. So that's all we have time for this morning.
It's also
everyone. Pardon?
I said to me. It sounds like teshuvah, the idea of coming back to yourself, of getting righted.
Fine. And what is the purpose of Medinat Yisrael, if not to be, among other things, a launching pad for exactly that? And that's described, of course, in the Torah in chapter 30 in Sefer Devarim as well. The Devarim Lamed, Parshat HaTshuva, is coming back, physical, coming back, spiritual. And the two of them are intermingled. We always thought, I would say in the basement with my thumb, we always thought first was going to be the Tshuva, and then everyone's Shomer Torah Mitzvah, everyone's going to come back to the land of Israel. Hashem had other plans, apparently.
By Israel.
That's it. Wish everyone all the best. Have a great day. And tonight, 7:30 for Tehilim together, but in this case, also the transition from Yom Zikaron to Yom Haatzmaut. And then at 8 o'clock will be the community-wide event on a separate Zoom. All the best. Have a good day, everybody.